Well, thank you all for coming out. I'm not surprised you're here. I've noticed over the years that people are much more interested in seeing this vehicle than me. And I get asked about it everywhere I go, even though it now hadn't been on the road for 4 years. And so we mulled over what to do, and the State Museum indicated an interest, but it's not something they can easily store or show all the time. So, as you may know, it's on its way to the RV Hall of Fame and Museum up in Elkhart, which is quite an interesting place. I encourage you to go visit them if you're up that way. And I'll tell you why I think it remains such a subject of interest. I believe that, well, first let me introduce who's going with me. This is Ben Lado, who drove the wheels off that thing. Ben Lado got his job because he spoke Spanish, and I wanted somebody to practice with, and that was a great lucky break. And he's gone on to a great career in business. And Adam Horse, we don't know where we found him, except he had a stellar academic career, and he was willing to drive a chase car and for coolie wages, and of course you all know him now as the state's outstanding budget director. Eric Holcomb at that time was organizing people all over the state. That's what he said he was doing. Ben and Adam and I never knew what he was really doing while we were working our tails off, but apparently something useful. And Bill Osterley, who is a co-founder of Angie's List and was really the main instigator of getting me to run in the first place. I took my revenge by making him the campaign chairman. And Bill and I cooked up this idea. I knew that as a no-name first-time candidate, I would have a special burden in what when we started was about a 6-person race. And secondly, I'd always felt that somebody somewhere ought to put the personal contact back in politics. And as a matter of principle, I think it was Bill who suggested this notion as a way to accomplish that. And away we went. July the 7th, I guess, 2003, parking lot of Hinkle Fieldhouse, and I don't know, 100-some thousand miles and 2 campaigns later, it's on its way now to its final home. But I believe that the reason I still get asked all the time about this vehicle is that it came to stand for certain things that were more important than me and more important than a political campaign. And that was that this is everybody's government, and that everybody, or as many people as humanly possible, ought to have an opportunity to talk to it, through the governor if possible. And secondly, that everywhere matters. We took this thing on roads and to places it was never built to go to. It's a wonder it still rolls at all. But those were the best times, I think. And I know every time we're all together, we tell stories, and everybody remembers 5 that everybody else forgot, and that's going to happen all the way up today. Just these incredible moments in little places that maybe only the 3 of us can name, but that will always matter to us, and we wanted to say they will always matter to Indiana. So I think that's the reason for the continuing curiosity about RV1. It's also, of course, the only RV ever to have its own reality show. 26 half-hour segments, and some very strange people tell me they watched every single one of them. So, anyway, thanks for coming out to see us off. If you signed it the first year, we had to paint it over, I'm sorry. There was not another square millimeter left, but that was okay because the whole idea was you got to go out and earn it again anyway. So the signatures you see were collected in 2007 and 8, and I could tell you a story about almost every one of them. One of my favorite things to do has always been to sort of just wander around this vehicle and be reminded by a signature of some person or some place or some little memory. So we think it's got 100 and some miles left in it. We're about to find out. But I just want to thank everybody who was a part of this great adventure, which I hope will leave a little imprint. I hope, honestly, that there'll be a little pressure on future candidates in this state to get out and see their employers and make the effort to put in the miles and put in the time to let people have a look and have a shot at the people who are temporarily in charge of government. Thank you all for coming. There we go. Are we excused?
Do you know how many signatures are on it? Anybody ever count?
You know, what is like, Norm? You guys can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Been asked that a million times. We even tried one of those things, it's like guessing how many beans are in the jar. You try to estimate the volume and so forth. I don't know, I believe in '04, we thought it was 20-some thousand, was that? But we don't know. I mean, you count a certain square footage and you try to extrapolate. But then you realize you forgot the underside of the bumper and you forgot the inside of the door, you know.
Like a speedway attendant.
Something, yes. It's a mystery. I'll tell you what, if everybody who claims to have signed it actually voted for us, no wonder we won. Anybody else?
Do you have any fun stories to remember about it?
Oh, we'll be here all day, Nikki.
How was just one or two?
Oh gosh, read the book, you know, from '04. You know, of course we love when things went wrong. When the awning got torn off. Yeah, where were we, Ben? I still visualize the spot. Out east. Yeah, Ben and I, we didn't want to be late, so Ben gets up on the roof and I'm pulling and he's cutting and we tore it off, threw it in the ditch and raced on, and somehow Osterley got a volunteer out there before we got arrested for littering. Of course, there was the night after the Hispanic Christmas service right here in town where we let Adam actually drive it, and he took it under an overpass and tore off the air conditioner. He's still hearing about that years later. We don't care how big a shot he turns into. No, you know, getting stuck in the parking lot at the Montgomery courthouse. Adam and I were finally able to move a dumpster, or otherwise we'd still be there. Right? There's a million of them. But that was what was fun. I think that's what made those shows, you know, when Rick Thompson, who's around here somewhere, came up with this idea, which I just rejected about 9 times. What? A what? They said it's a reality show. I didn't even know what that was. And I said, who would watch that? And I said, finally, I said, all right, 2 conditions. 1, you cannot spend much money because this thing is going to bomb. And 2, the first time anybody feels, you know, awkward or misused because there's a guy running around with a little camera, it's over, because this is not a stunt and this is not a gimmick. This is not a weekend, you know, quote, listening tour. We did this for 16 months, almost every single day, and then we did it again as much as my job would leave room for. And it was amazing. In all the hours, how many hours of tape did you guys shoot? Did you ever figure? 100 and some hours. Not one person ever said, oh, I don't want my picture taken, or who's he? I would just forget he was there. So, you know, there's a lot of memories and a lot that I've forgotten. But like I say, before we get to Elkhart, I'm sure another couple hundred stories will come out.
Governor, the jacket looks new. Did you get that?
My friend, no, I didn't. But my friends at the National Guard, with whom we'd spent a lot of time, it has the unit patches. It's my most prized piece of apparel now. And we had a little bit of an emotional ceremony at their meeting of all their officers and command sergeant majors about a month ago, and they surprised me with this, and that's a treasure now.
How was it functionally, apart from the transportation aspects? How was it improved in terms of getting things done on route?
Oh yeah, well of course that was a big part of the idea. If you're going to travel all the time, you got to be able to make phone calls. You got to be able to do some forms of paperwork, and it did function that way. I remember back then we tried to get wireless communication. It was very iffy. If I had a nickel for every time I was cut off in a radio interview in a place where the cell phone service disappeared, very frustrating. But yeah, I mean, that was part of the theory that you would. It says, you know, campaign headquarters, you would take the campaign on the road and keep it there, and I got a lot of work done in there. All right.
Did you ever sleep on board?
Couple, yeah. Oh, I mean, I doze off a lot.
But overnight?
I always slept in people's homes, but these guys slept in there, you know, many times, and so you know they've got stories that even I don't know about that. But no, I don't think I ever slept overnight. But we always could find somebody who had a couch or somebody's room. Okay. Anybody want a last look? Because we're going to take off. All right. Thanks a lot.